This is me. This is a new favorite book. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why the Women's Prize for Fiction should make this book the 2024 winner. Hello, Bookworm. I don't know about you, but the 2024 Women's Prize longlist took me completely by surprise. I think we can all agree that based on the BookTuber prediction videos, it's not what any of us were expecting. But I happen to enjoy a long list that introduces me to books I'm unfamiliar with. And this year's long list is 16 books I haven't read, and most of them I've never even heard of. Today I'm reviewing 3 of them, and I'm pretty sure one of them is my pick to win. It's a new favorite that I can't wait to share with you, so let's dive in. We need to talk about The Blue Beautiful World by Karen Lord. I'm intrigued by a rogue book on a long list as much as the next person, but what really drew me to this book was the way Women's Prize judge Anna Whitehouse described it in the long list announcement video. She said,
The Blue Beautiful World by Karen Lord quite literally takes a knife to climate change and opens up what humanity is going to look like in the future.
If you've read this book, you know how absurdly far removed that description is from what this book offers. Climate change is almost irrelevant to this story, so it's a misstep to pitch it as a climate change book because it establishes expectations that won't be met. To complicate matters further, the blurb focuses on a pop megastar named Owen who may or may not become the dictator of his nightmares, and that is a very small portion of this book. So what is this book actually about? Well, it primarily concerns a group of people preparing to make first contact with intelligent civilizations beyond Earth, with the intent of establishing formal relationships with them. And, of course, things don't go according to plan, but in a muted way. This story is conveyed quietly with low stakes and minimal action. This is not a fast-paced sci-fi thriller steeped in heavy world building, and it's not a story of impending climate doom with a plea at its heart for change. Rather, it's a benign introduction to sci-fi that gently interrogates a future in which we all communicate through VR, and how only seeing ourselves represented digitally means we rarely, if ever, see ourselves authentically. It's also helpful to know that this is the 3rd book in a series. While I was reading, I didn't know that, and I continually felt that I was missing something. And I think because I hadn't read the first 2 books, I lacked information needed to contextualize these characters and their environment. Now, all of that is to say that if this book's premise intrigues you, then consider starting with the first book in the series, The Best of All Possible Worlds. Alternatively, if you'd like to go on a compelling romp through space alongside a ragtag band of musicians competing in a galactic competition to save Earth, then I highly recommend Space Opera by Catherine M. Valente. It's one of the funniest, strangest books I've ever read. Valente's writing is exceptional, and a sequel to this book is coming out in September of this year. Brotherless Night by V.V. Ganeshananthan. I listened to the audiobook of this and I was swiftly transported to 1980s Jaffna in Sri Lanka, where the boys have dark, piercing eyes, the mothers prepare their children's favorite curries, and 16-year-old Sashi is aspiring to be a doctor in a male-dominated society. Unfortunately, Sashi and her 4 beloved brothers and their friend Kay are about to be swept up in a civil war that will last for 26 years. This work of political and historical fiction introduced me to a time, place, and a war that I am unfamiliar with, but quickly grounded me with an understanding of the unrest between the Sinhalese majority and the Tamil minority, which Sashi and her family are. Sashi's medical studies are halted by the war, but she continues to learn medicine after accepting a position working as a medic at a field hospital for the Tamil Tigers, whom, she says, you know, as the terrorists. This is very much a story about clinging to one's humanity amid senseless acts of violence and grappling with moral quandaries like, should you do the right thing even if it helps the wrong person? I found this to be a very conflicting, and human story. It's so steeped in history and written in such an intimate, personal way that I had to continually remind myself that I was listening to fiction, not a memoir. And that's due in large part to Sashi being a highly introspective character. I felt like I spent so much time in her head and her heart that she became a real person to me. There were some chapters with closing lines that made my breath catch and my throat tighten and my eyes glisten, because what Sashi witnesses is so horrific and her insights are painful because they are not limited to her story. We're seeing so many people around the world suffer senselessly amid war right now, which is to say that Brotherless Night is a painfully topical book. In addition to it being a testament to the enduring impact of war, it's also about resilient women, the bond shared between siblings, and the strength of a mother's love. I highly, highly recommend this one, especially the audiobook. And now we get to a new favorite, In Defense of the Act by Effie Black. This darkly humorous book introduces 35-year-old Jessica Miller, who is fascinated by how some humans choose to end their own lives. And she believes, secretly, that this act in certain circumstances can be beneficial. Take, for example, one of the money spiders that Jessica studies professionally, even though she really doesn't like spiders. Some of these female spiders become barren in their old age and do themselves in by eating their own legs, then starving and bleeding to death. But they only take this drastic action when being an old, barren hottie is earning them male attention that distracts the males from mating with viable females. Now, under those circumstances alone, these lady spiders take themselves out of the equation for the good of the species. Jessica's favorable view of the act is not limited to a scientific perspective, but I won't say how or why. That's something you need to discover for yourself. So why should you read this book, besides the fact that it's a new favorite? Because it's delightfully weird, absurdly funny, sensual, and surprising, devastating, and unexpected. Amid Jessica recounting personal experiences and exploring her queerness, there's a mystery unfolding. And I guarantee that every time you think you know what's happening, Effie Black throws another curveball your way. When I got to the final pages of this book, I was on my feet, circling the living room, reading out loud and thinking, this debut novel has been so great. Is Effie Black going to stick the landing? And she does. She does it so beautifully. When I finished reading the final pages, I was speechless and in absolute awe of this book. I love it. Go read it. One final note is that the font is painfully small, so consider getting an ebook if that could be an issue for you. There's no audiobook yet, unfortunately, but I'm hoping there will be, because with the right narrator, this book could be even funnier. You probably saw that I posted a video featuring some of my favorite reads from the last 28 years of the Women's Prize for fiction, and if I were to make that video today, I would include this book. I love when a book says things out loud that it probably shouldn't and does it without flinching, and this book has that in spades. I'm definitely going to pre-order whatever book Effie Black publishes next, and as of now, I am rooting for her to win the 2024 Women's Prize for Fiction. Go read this book now, especially if you enjoyed We Need to Talk About Kevin. If you've read any of these books and have thoughts you'd like to share, please let me know. If any of them caught your eye, tell me which one in the comments. Ooh, and if you've already read In Defense of the Act, let me know if you're an egg, a coffee bean, or a carrot. I'd like to be a coffee bean, but I think I may be an egg. Your code word for the comments will be carrot, and feel free to use the emoji if you want. My name is Hannah Greendale. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have more Women's Prize reviews coming, so keep an eye out for those. And in the meantime, I wish you happy reading. See you in the next one.